Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we are going to talk about another inherited liver disease, that is Wilson's disease. In the Wilson's disease, there is excessive deposition of copper in the body. It is an autosomal recessive disorder. It is very rare but very important disorder. Let's talk about the pathophysiology of the Wilson's disease. Start with the normal physiology of the copper absorption and metabolism. Copper is absorbed from the stomach as well as from the initial part of the small intestine, and through the portal circulation this copper enters into the liver, and liver produces a protein which is called apoceroplasmin. This apoceroplasmin, when binds with the copper, this is called ceroplasmin, and this is the major excretory form of the copper. This copper is excreted out. 90% of the copper is excreted out through the bile by this protein, and from the bile it enters into the feces. This is the major excretory form of the copper. ATP7B protein, which is present in the liver, is responsible for the incorporation of copper into the apoceroplasmin. As a result, ceroplasmin protein is formed, as well as the deposition of copper into these vesicles. And these vesicles, through the exocytosis, releases the copper, and this copper enters into the circulation. This is the normal physiology of the copper. But when there is a Wilson's disease, there is defect or mutation in the ATP7B protein or the gene. As a result, defective production of this protein, so there is no incorporation of copper into apoceroplasmin. As a result, apoceroplasmin is a unstable compound, and it got break down into the plasma. As a result, ceroplasmin production is reduced from the liver. So there is no excretion of, as a result, there is no excretion of copper into the feces. So copper starts accumulating into the hepatocytes, and after a very heavy amount or excessive amount of copper when deposited in the hepatocytes, there is overproduction of free radicals like hydroxyl ions, and these hydroxyl ions then damage these hepatocytes. As a result, there is excessive copper release from the hepatocytes into the plasma circulation. So there is more copper in the plasma circulation as well. This excessive copper in the plasma when then enters into the various tissues and deposited into the brain, especially the basal ganglia, and in the kidneys, as well as in the cornea of the eye and the skeleton. So this was the pathophysiology of the Wilson's disease. Now come to the clinical features of the Wilson disease. The patient present in the age group from 5 to 45 years of age, and the primary organ to be involved in the Wilson's disease is liver. Patient may present with acute hepatitis, and in the severe forms in fulminant or acute hepatic failure. This is the clinical presentation of Wilson's disease in case of liver involvement. Fulminant hepatic failure. In the fulminant hepatic failure, along with the liver involvement, there is a hemolysis, because the excessive copper produces the free radicals which damage the RBCs as well. So hemolysis plus renal tubulopathy. Renal tubulopathy because of RBC breakdown and excessive copper. And some patients may present with the chronic liver disease. When the onset is very slow, then patient presents with chronic liver disease, which ends up with well established cirrhosis. So if the patient presents with the recurrent attacks of acute hepatitis or the recurrent attacks of the chronic liver disease along with the hemolysis, then doctors should rule out the Wilson's disease first. The neurological disease or the brain involvement is a late feature, and it appears usually in the older age group, not in the adolescent or in the young age group. The extrapyramidal side effects are extrapyramidal symptoms are produced extrapyramidal sign and symptoms are produced or appears in case of Wilson's disease, which are usually similar to Parkinson's disease, that is rigidity in the body, rigidity, bradykinesia, that is slow movement of the various parts, bradykinesia, as well as resting tremors, resting tremors in the hands. So this is the clinical presentation of These are the extrapyramidal side sign and symptoms in case of Wilson's disease. Also, some patients presents with the chorea, which is basically involuntary, irregular movements of the muscles, and some patient presents with dementia, that is lack of cognitive function. And in the eyes, when this excessive copper deposition occurs around the periphery of the cornea and forms a ring which is called KF ring or Kaiser-Fleischer ring. This is greenish to brown in color, brown color peripheral ring around the cornea, which is basically nothing but a copper deposition around the cornea. Let's talk about the investigations of the Wilson's disease. The best initial investigation is seroplasmin in the serum. As we have discussed in the pathophysiology, the seroplasmin levels in 90% of the cases in the Wilson's disease are reduced in the serum because the aposeroplasmin is the unstable compound and easily break down. So as a result, decreased amount of seroplasmin in the serum. So this is the best initial diagnostic test and gives the clue that this patient has Wilson's disease. But in 5 to 10% of the cases, seroplasmin levels are normal. But this is the best initial test which gives the clue that this patient has Wilson's disease. Best initial diagnostic test. The other tests are check the serum copper levels, which are usually increased as we have discussed in the pathophysiology, as well as increased urinary copper excretion. So increased, it is more than 0.6 micromoles per day. And the hepatic copper content is also increased. It can be checked by liver biopsy. The gold standard or the confirmatory test, the important confirmatory test for the Wilson's disease is check 24 hours urinary copper excretion by giving patient D-penicillamine. This D-penicillamine is basically a chelating agent and helps in the excretion of copper into the urine. So after giving D-penicillamine to the patient, check the urinary copper levels. If the urinary copper excretion is more than 25 micromoles per day or per 24 hours, then it is the confirmatory test that this patient has Wilson's disease. It is a confirmatory test, confirmatory diagnostic test. So let's end this lecture with the management. Give the initial best treatment of choice or the drug of choice is D-penicillamine. This is the chelating agent and helps in the excretion of copper into the urine. So it is the drug of choice. The dose for penicillamine is 1.5 microgram per day, and in the range is 1 to 4 microgram per day of D-penicillamine. And even this drug should be continued throughout the pregnancy as well. The treatment should not be discontinued in the pregnancy, but this drug in some patients shows the toxic side effects. These are rashes, the rashes on the body, and bone marrow suppression in severe form, bone marrow suppression, as well as lupus-like syndrome. If these features appears in the patients, then the other alternatives to this D-penicillamine are thiantine dihydrochloride and zinc supplementation. The dose for thiantine dihydrochloride is 1.2 to 2.4 microgram per day, and the dose for zinc is 50 mg 3 times daily. 3 times daily. This is the best alternative of D-penicillamine in case of Wilson's disease. This zinc actually inhibits the uptake of copper from the gastrointestinal tract, so the more copper is excreted out into the feces. Liver transplant is indicated in acute hepatic or the fulminant hepatic failure, and in the cases of cirrhosis, and it has excellent prognosis. The screening and the management of or the treatment of first degree relatives like siblings and children of the patient is necessary, and it is an important step of management in case of Wilson's disease. So this was all about the management of the Wilson's disease. So we have covered the Wilson's disease. Thank you so much for watching this video.